something that I just can't understand the way I behave. Some people you can never save. In my right hand, got a girl on my ear, and on my left hand, throwing back a beer. What can I say? All right, so it is the Tuesday after Terrence's funeral. It's early in the morning. You guys have had a late night. Let's see. Who's going to be the first person to wake up?
It'll probably be me.
Probably you, okay. And what are you going to do this bright, sunny day in New Orleans?
I am going to get out my map of the ley lines and kind of look at that compared to where Muriel's is and see if the ley lines are crossing any of that area.
You don't see that any of the ley lines actually correspond to Muriel's. Most of the ley lines that you see, they do coincide in Jackson Square, but they kind of spread out in a star-shaped pattern across the city. Several of them run underneath some of the major roads and thoroughfares, but not, the little side streets that are in the French Quarter that are kind of in a crisscross pattern. So it doesn't seem like the ley lines correspond with anything over there. Anybody else who wakes up early, by the way, while we're doing this?
I probably won't wake up. Yeah, I probably won't wake up immediately. I don't know, like 10 or so.
Okay, all right. So, Jody, you're still looking at your ley lines. What's your next step?
I think I'm going to go ahead and renew my listening device in the 422 to see if they are noticing, or if they're talking about weird stuff and where it might be happening the most, and if there's a pattern there too.
Well, remember, it doesn't record anything, and it's early in the morning, so nobody's at the 422. If you listen through on it, you're going to hear them taking deliveries.
No, I'm redoing my spell.
Oh, redoing your spell. Okay. So you get ready, you set up your ritual circle. It's probably going to take you a couple hours to gather the energy that you're going to need, nice and slow trickle of power so you don't get too tired. It'll make you a little tired from doing it, but you can have a sandwich for lunch or something like that, and that'll kind of renew and regenerate you enough that you won't have to worry about it. So yeah, you can reset your listening spell on that. Again, you are able to actually hear what's going on in there while you're resetting it, and they are, taking the orders of Jack Daniels and Jameson and stuff like that. Yeah.
And then I'm going to go to the library, the book newspaper section, and just see if I can research some news articles about Muriel's and maybe other places in that general area that have ghosts that could be upset.
The main ghost story you hear about Jackson Square, of course, is Muriel's. You do hear that the cathedral is supposed to be haunted, but that's probably just one of those stories that people hear in New Orleans. You do know that the apartments that are around Jackson Square, some of them are supposed to be haunted because they're old apartments. A lot of them have been there for 100 years and of course redone over time. Getting an apartment around Jackson Square is just impossible pretty much. But Muriel's, the ghost dates back to the 1800s. The main ones you read about, of course, are Antoine Lepardi, the guy who supposedly hung himself in the rafters, and then Tommy, the little boy who you met last night throwing stuff around the bar. Though he normally is very kind of nice, calm, and doesn't seem to throw things around, just moves things around, plays with the people who come to Muriel's and stuff like that. Muriel's is known as one of the most haunted restaurants in New Orleans, so all the other things you run across, Jean Lafitte, the blacksmith shop, supposedly has Jean Lafitte there as a ghost, which is what Bunk and Volt ran into, but other than that, there aren't many other places. Most of the ghost stories you run across seem like they're in the French Quarter, because it's the oldest part of the city. That's where, there's also been lots of fires and wars that have gone through the city, so there's lots of ghost stories there. All right, so around probably 10 o'clock, Darwin, you get up, and...
Yeah. I kind of want to do the same thing, only, I don't know, because, like, the Paranoirs have, like, their own little trove of information. Can I access that?
You can go to one of the public computer terminals at the library. It probably takes you a few minutes to ride your moped down there to the public library. You might even run into Della as she's, flipping through the actual physical newspapers, books, and, the microfiche section. Probably the microfiche reader would work pretty well around you, as long as you remain a calm demeanor and it won't, pop and burn up. But you're able to actually go over and use the computers. And so you sit down, you start logging into the Paranet website, because they have kind of a login and password section, because they don't want everybody finding out about all their magical abilities, especially because there's some pretty nasty things that go bump in the night that you don't want to have a list of people.
Right.
You start looking around at the different ghost stories. A lot of them have mentioned meeting Antoine Lepardi at Muriel's. Now, he's pretty chill. He's a pretty nice guy. One of the Paranetters says they played him in gin rummy and beat him. And he gave them the location of a really old bottle of wine that I guess he had hidden somewhere. And they went to the location, the derelict house, and sure enough, underneath the floorboards, there was this 200-year-old bottle of wine. It was pretty much vinegar by that point, but it's kind of cool to have an old bottle of wine or something like that. There was a little bit of old money there too. A lot of it was from the Confederate times, which meant it wasn't worth anything, but it was still cool to have. You start looking into other ghost stories around or ghosts that people have run into. There's a lot of chatter about the Devil Man. But more disturbingly is that there seems to be some chatter about some of the Paranetters have disappeared from the French Quarter without saying goodbye or anything like that. Now, people move in and out of the city all the time, but people just moving away without saying goodbye to their friends is a little odd. Right. Also, they stopped posting on some of the Paranet boards, so it makes people a little concerned. It hasn't been many, maybe 2 or 3, but some of their friends are a little concerned about them. One girl just didn't show up for her shift at one of the restaurants she worked at. And these are not really powerful people. They're not even the ones who are powerful enough to go around Jackson Square and read cards or tea leaves or anything like that. These are people who have the ability to make their hands 10 degrees warmer, and so they got a job as a masseuse, or people who could stand on one leg all day for 10 hours or something like that, and so they got a job in a restaurant because that way you can stand on your feet all day. So it's not a bad thing to be able to do.
They'd be perfect at IHOP.
Yeah, right. IHOP. Aha, see what you did there.
Only hands.
Yeah. But there's a little bit of concern. There's also been a little bit of chatter that they think the ghouls that live in the port seem to be taking homeless people off the street to eat. Some of the homeless people have been disappearing from there, and they found actually a couple bodies that seem to have been devoured. It's either really large rats, which is possible, or werewolves, but most of the Paranetters think that it's probably ghouls. And remember, ghouls are basically humanoid. They are really hard to kill. They can distend their jaws kind of like a snake, and they have to eat raw meat. That's what's required for their diet. So yeah, they're pretty nasty characters, that's for sure. You wouldn't want to run into one by yourself. With the rest of your buddies, yeah, you guys can take one, but and a lot of them in a pack, and they do run in packs, makes you a little nervous. So you're kind of like, I don't know.
Fair enough.
Alrighty, but that takes you two probably till about 11 or 12 o'clock. You guys could probably head out together even if you want to, because
I was going to say that if I happen to be there and you're already there doing stuff, and be like, oh hey,
let's go get some beignets.
That sounds great.
You are hungry because you did do a lot of spells, and you probably were. Well, you've just been doing research. But it never hurts to eat in New Orleans, right?
Fair enough.
All right.
Especially not beignets, I mean.
So I'll probably be up next.
Yes, you are. You wake up. What are you going to do?
So, I am going to do my own brand of research, which is to go and gather haunted tour brochures of the city and just kind of look for paranormal hotspots. And I'm going to go find a diner and order like a burger and some fries, and I'm going to sit down and with a Sharpie marker just start FBI style profiling, triangulating, finding anything in the vicinity of the... Is it northwest? Is that the direction?
Northwest of Muriel's, yes.
Muriel's? Okay. Yeah, I keep forgetting the directional term from that. But anything that looks like it's popping on the area overlapping with known paranormal hotspots. There's
lots of stories about ghosts in the French Quarter. Not sure how many of them are true because they are in these brochures and they're for these tours, and of course you got to keep the tourists happy. You do notice most of the ghost stories are in the French Quarter, which again doesn't surprise you either because that's where all the tourists are. There's several hotels that are haunted. There's Hotel Monteleon, the 14th floor, supposedly has a little toddler that's a ghost. There's also a door to the restaurant that supposedly opens and closes on its own every night, even if it's locked. The Hotel Provençal is down near La Laurie Mansion, which is in the French Quarter, and it used to be a Civil War hospital, and so people have, mentioned that blood coming out of the walls, ghosts of old Civil War soldiers, some of them missing arms or legs or things like that, screams. It's a pretty spooky place. The ghosts in Hotel Monteleone seem pretty cool. The ones in Hotel Provincial seem pretty spooky, just kind of along those lines. You're sitting there kind of drawing on your map, figuring out where all this ties together. Haven't seen a pattern yet, but you're sitting there, and all of a sudden, you notice a cup of coffee and a saucer slide across the table to you. And standing in front of you is a gentleman, dark-headed, kind of curly hair, beard and mustache, wearing a suit and tie. And he says, "Miranda?"
Maybe.
And he says, "I've been looking for you. I ran into some of your friends last night, Bunk and Volt. I've been trying to get in touch with you."
Oh, about?
Well, I own the LaLaurie Mansion, and the ghosts in there are becoming more and more restless. That's one of the reasons I was given the mansion in the first place, because I'm very devout, and my prayers had kept the ghosts kind of calm. But in the last month or so, maybe month and a half, they have gotten more and more restless. And I'm a little concerned that something is coming to a head when the ghosts are going to start manifesting. And most of the ones in my house are pretty malevolent. There's some pretty terrible things done there. And if they come through to this side, there's going to be probably bloodshed and destruction. So it could be a bad thing for the city.
So that's interesting because, and I'll show him the work I'm doing on the map, tell him about what me and my friends have been doing and how we ran into a ghost at Muriel's acting up and what we've kind of deduced from this situation. And I was
Right.
so it's interesting that things are popping off at your house while this other activity is going on.
He says, yeah, it seems like something is definitely happening in the city to cause this. He says, now, where you're looking on here, the only thing really to the northwest of Muriel's is the St. Louis No. 1 cemetery, and then also the Museum of Death. I've been to the cemetery. It seems pretty normal to me. It's got a protective threshold around it, mainly to keep things in the cemetery in. That's why we build walls around cemeteries, to keep things in. Now, the Museum of Death, a couple came out from LA about a year ago or so, built this Museum of Death. They have some pretty creepy stuff in there. We're dealing with serial killers and Dr. Kevorkian. Never been in there. I don't know what it's like. But that's also in that direction. You might want to check it out. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Make me a lore check to see if you recognize who Beaumont is, Gabriel Beaumont is.
Two? Well, no, it's a 0.
A 0. You've heard of Gabriel Beaumont. You know that he moved into the city about a year or two ago. Probably longer than that. Probably closer to 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. No, actually longer than that. Before Katrina. He was given the house by the Catholic Church. And he's been he rode the storm out in the city, didn't leave, didn't evacuate. You know that he has pretty close ties to the Catholic Church, and that he's generally known as being a pretty good guy, someone you can trust. At one point he did wield one of the swords of the cross, though he does not anymore. So that's where we are on that.
Do I know? Do I know which one he used to wield?
Make me another lore check. It was not your sword. How about that?
Yeah.
I'll give you that one.
Okay,
He did not wield your sword. So he looks at you and he kind of says, I believe if I remember correctly, you're a Knight of the Cross?
Uh-huh.
He says, do you have your sword with you? Dun, dun, dun.
I pull out the little cylinder case that I keep in, and I kind of just give him a little peek without,
Right. And he says, do you mind if I take a look at it?
Yeah.
Because he says that
Very
sword
hesitantly.
looks like the one that Sonya currently wields. Do know of the Swords of the Cross. two of them live in Chicago. One of them was wielded by Michael Carpenter, a Markless, which was also Excalibur at one point. Then there was one that was wielded by Shiro, who was a Asian gentleman. It's currently not being wielded by anyone. Amorclus is not being wielded by anyone either. They're both in the keeping of Harry Dresden, as far as we know. Sonya is the only Knight of the Cross currently active, and he's run a little ragged because he's the only one going around and putting to rest all these evil things. You know that he primarily fights against this group called the Blackened Denarians. And what they are is basically these coins. They're the 30 pieces of silver that Judas received for selling out Christ. And there's a demon that resides in each of these coins. And if you touch the coin, the demon will start worming its way into your head, trying to convince you to give over to it, and eventually it will convince you, and you will be possessed by the demon. Now, with that comes a phenomenal amount of power, but also what comes with it is the loss of your soul, and you get treated pretty badly. Most of the demons enslave their hosts and just take them over, so it's a pretty raw deal. And the Knights of the Cross go to basically try and stop these Blackened Denarians from doing things that they shouldn't around the world. So you can imagine how one Knight of the Cross against 30 different demons might be a little rough. Some of the Blackened Denarians coins are in the hands of the Catholic Church, so there's not really 30 of them out there, but there's still a lot of them compared to one Knight of the Cross. He looks at your sword and he says, that looks exactly like Sonya's sword, which is Esperacius. And he starts looking at it, kind of pulls it out of the little case a little bit, kind of looks at it and goes, no, it's just exactly like his. It's like a cavalry saber. He says, I don't know if you know the history of your sword, but your sword was actually made from the broadsword of Roland, the paladin, the one who fought for Charlemagne back in the 1500s. He says, a big broadsword. Most of the swords have been reworked from their original forms. And then he looks at it and he says, well, now that's interesting. And he holds up the sword to you so you can kind of look at the end, that would be the tang nut of it. And he says, what do you see on the end of there? It's a moon.
Moon.
Yeah. It looks like a seal like you would use with wax so that you could like seal something, a note or something along those lines. It's got lots of little filigree around it, and a moon is there. He says, I know for a fact that Sonya's sword has a sun and yours has a moon, which is very interesting because there had been rumors that when Christ was crucified on the cross, there weren't 3 nails, there were 4. And in fact, if you look at all the paintings of the old masters from before the 1700s, you see he had 1 cross in each hand and 1 in each foot. But somewhere around the 1700s, it changed to it was 1 long nail that went through both feet and then 1 in each hand. And that's why we thought there were only 3 swords of the cross. But there had also been rumors that Roland's broadsword had been split up into 2 swords, a sister sword, which no one had really heard about, and then, of course, Amorclus that Sonya wields. It seems you have the sword that is the sister sword to Sonya's.
That's interesting.
Which is interesting that it decides to come into play at this point, because it would lead me to believe that things are coming to a point where the 4th sword of the cross, which has been hidden until now, may be being called into play. Maybe something really bad and terrible is coming this way. Who knows? So yeah, interesting. Well, the Lord works in mysterious ways, and if it's time for him to bring a 4th player onto the board, then perhaps this is because something really bad is happening or going to happen. I don't know.
Lucky me.
He says, well, look, if you could check into the whole thing with the ghosts, and you're welcome to swing by my house anytime you want. He pulls out a business card, hands it to you.
Change information.
Yeah, and he says, swing by anytime if you'd like. The place is a bit of a mess because the ghosts are getting restless, but maybe once this is handled, we'll be able to sit down and have a nice meal, or maybe share a good glass of bourbon or something like that.
Sure, I would love to stop the ghost apocalypse and then...
Ghost apocalypse.
Hey, did you mention stone stabbing?
Oh, no, thank you. He also says, now, Roland's sword was actually originally called Durandal. Each of the swords of the cross has a aspect associated with it. Yours is a sword of hope, or, well, I should say Sonia's is a sword of hope, so I assume yours is. It must never be wielded in despair, or it can be broken. But it's also supposed to be able to cut through stone. So, might want to see if that's true or not. Though I will tell you to be careful, because you shouldn't test the Lord your God.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I'm not a tester for sure. No testing bones in my body.
That's right.
Okay, well, right. Good to know. Thank you.
Well, I'll be seeing you, hope. Let me know how things are going, and if there's anything I can do to help, please. Don't hesitate. He picks up his little coffee cup and puts it on the counter to, be slid across, and, heads on out the door. So, what are you going to do?
I am going to get a to-go bag of food and a chocolate milkshake. And I'm going to go invade my new friend's house now that I know where he lives.
All right, so you're heading over to Bunks with some food and things like that.
What time is it?
It's probably noon.
Noonish,
Yeah.
probably
All right, so
30.
I'm up practicing
All right.
coffee, practicing.
Doing scales.
All right. Knock, knock, knock. On
Come in.
wooden stove.
Hello.
All right, shove in the food.
Oh.
Like, hey, breakfast, lunch, breakfast, whatever food. Fuel.
Thank you. Come on in.
So I had a weird meeting, and also wanted to catch up on how y'all's little drive around went last night.
We had a cool time. We went to a bar, and then we went to this guy's house, and he was looking for you.
He found me.
It's weird, right?
Yeah. No, it was interesting. I think I'm the Digidestined or something, but yeah.
Lord works in mysterious ways.
Yeah, Lord works in mysterious ways.
Yeah, so we hung out with him. He seemed cool, but also,
Sums up with him. Sums up.
Yeah.
Sums up. He So you have rocks. Do you have any rocks? Like big ones? Or know where big rocks would be? I don't know.
Boom! Segue.
Actually, there's quite a few. The house you live in is called the NOLA Art House.
love it.
There's a lot of artists there. The hallways are very wide and used for galleries for stuff. Out back, there's a huge tree house that's made from basically all the stuff that washed up in Katrina.
Okay.
And so around that, people have kind of taken rocks and set up little artistic things where they painted on them or glued things to them. So where there's a lot of rocks. You're just not sure how the artists are going to feel about you taking their rocks, because they
Some
decorate
rocks out back.
Yeah, some rocks out back. There you go.
Great, cool. Hey, do you want to try something really cool?
Of course.
Okay, let's go check out the rocks. This might be my best new friend. All right, so
Okay.
We
What
go-
are we doing?
okay, so Lord, I am not testing you. I have perfect faith in you. This will work or it won't. I want you to throw that big rock at me. And I pull out the sword and I get in a baseball.
How big
a
is a big
baseball?
rock?
How big a rock is? How big a rock did you pick up?
Probably you can find a chunk of cement that's
Something
probably
like
there.
this? Like this?
Sure, let's go with that.
Okay. And so toss it.
I'm gonna need a weapons check. I don't
I
have
was
any
saying
problem.
she
You
would
can
say-
probably hit her pretty easily.
Yeah,
Whether it's
that's-
not, she can hit it out of the air is gonna be the next
Yeah,
question.
that's-
Yeah.
Okay.
Tunk.
Yep.
Ow!
6 to this one.
That's gonna leave
Get
a
the
mark.
shiner.
Ooh, okay, so that is a
Weapons.
7.
Okay.
Oh,
Boom.
What's your
Oh.
weapons?
+5 +1 for the night of for the
Oh
sword of the
wow.
cross.
Okay. So you grab this chunk of stone. And it's got a little bit of rebar in it and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just a little bit of rebar. And so you take it and it weighs probably 5-10 pounds. You kind of hurl it at her, and it's not coming real fast because it's heavy. I mean, you imagine trying to throw the head of a sledgehammer at someone. It's just you're gonna have to put some muscle behind it to get it to go fast. But it comes flying at you, and you go, okay, and ding! Oh, it rings your hands because it does not cut the stone. The stone hits and falls to the ground. Interestingly enough, though, it does not break the sword because you're thinking that normally, if you had hit a sword like that, it would just sheared off and shattered. Okay.
Right.
Your sword does not shatter, but doesn't cut it either.
What was supposed to happen? This is supposed to be cool.
Wah, wah, wah.
Well, the sword didn't break. I thought what I thought would happen is just like, do you ever watch anime? You know, those like shing, and then there would be light,
Like
and then the, moment would happen. I thought that maybe this is cool too, though. This is definitely an unbreakable sword. Yeah,
So-
okay. I'm just like
Back in the tube.
all right,
screw
so
back down.
and then I pull out my psycho map and I go, so I did some research.
Okay.
A lot of lines on this map.
Yes.
You're not sure what's going on.
I'm
How long
not
did you
sure.
stay up?
I
How
got
much
I
coffee?
Yeah.
got pretty good amount of sleep, I think.
Okay.
For me.
Okay.
This is okay. So I had narrowed down what I think are our search locations to St. Louis Cathedral Cemetery and this death museum. However, Beaumont seemed to kind of give the okay on the cemetery, so maybe we'll bump that one down the list. I'm thinking there's like
We kind of talked about Volt and I, and so I was thinking the Death Museum
yes, okay.
because that's kind of new, and maybe
Yeah, this is a recent phenomenon with the screaming
maybe
and the ghosts.
maybe like there's museums they have things come in and out.
Right, that's what I was thinking. Maybe like some haunted,
So,
legitimately
yeah, like
haunted,
they brought
like
in some
thing.
something cursed or something.
maybe could be.
You
Yeah,
know, that they just didn't know about.
worth a look. I mean, we can cross it off
Yeah,
the list
Plus,
if
it's
it
a
doesn't.
museum. We can go see. If nothing else, we can be freaked out a little bit.
So we should get the rest of the Scooby Gang. You got anything else going on today?
I mean, I'm
Well,
playing my horn and.
You have
chill.
your burger, and
Well,
I'll call. I'll make some calls.
You round up the posse, and that's.
I like your house.
Thank you. It's
Nice.
It's nice for now. Hope no one leaves here soon. I have to
Leaves?
bake it in 10 years.
Oh.
I'll start calling. Well, I guess I'll start with you because you have a phone. You have a phone, right? Like a flip phone?
Yeah.
It's a flip phone, yeah.
Okay.
Nokia.
Got you.
He's got
You
the
have the
Because those things
problem
last
with
forever.
I got the battery
okay.
fixed.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's got the car.
Because I thought you had a
Bunk and
landline at
I
your
are-
house.
I do have a landline.
Yeah.
Y'all are different kinds of practitioners here.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Their practitioner doesn't, because they're not quite in the same league as she is. Their practicing doesn't cause, especially not his,
Yeah.
because he's all about making items, and so
Got you.
he's kind of on the. Yours, on the other hand, will cause problems with magical things because evocation has a tendency to futz with electrical stuff a lot more. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll start with calling Volt.
Mhm.
Ring, ring. Banana phone.
Hello?
Hey, are you awake? Did I
Yeah.
wake you up?
No.
Guess where I'm at?
New Orleans.
Damn it!
Good call.
What did I win?
No. I came over to Bunk's house.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Great
We're
guy.
here. We did, yeah, real fun. He threw a rock at me. So we're
Okay.
we have a lead.
Use your kinetic energy.
Yeah, we have a lead. So we're thinking we're gonna check. How would you like to? Hey, is today Monday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Oh man, one day shy of Museum Monday. We're gonna do Museum Tuesday.
All right.
All right.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I'm gonna call Della and Darwin here in a little bit. So do you want to? Can we meet? Can they just come here?
Sure.
Just meet us at Bunk's place.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, great. See you soon. All of the Gen X kids are gonna, Gen Z kids are gonna wonder why we're doing our homework.
Any idea what's going on?
Why don't they just do this?
Yeah, right?
I wonder if-
What do they just do? No, what do they just
20
do
years,
this?
it's gonna be the-
All right,
Yeah.
now I'm gonna
No,
call
they just
Della.
do this.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Or just hello.
Yeah, that's about right.
Okay.
Because you're holding your phone out like this. Yeah.
speaker.
Yeah. So, what are you doing then?
I guess before the call, I was probably going through the standard, searching through the boxes and just doing.
Yeah, nothing really exciting today. More low-level cooking electronic stuff. There's a couple things you don't recognize. One of them is something about a sous vide. I'm not sure what that is. There's a couple crock pots and some things like that. Looks like whoever whatever truck this fell off of, it was coming from a cooking store. There's some pots and pans, which doesn't do you a whole lot of good because you don't have a stove.
Right.
But you do have one of those little griddle things, those little electric griddles. So that's not too bad. But yeah, you're going through that.
I'll
stuff.
probably keep one of each.
Okay.
Just for spare parts reasons.
Right.
And just back to the dumpster with the rest.
Right. Yeah. Most of the stuff you're kind of like, wow, okay, that's great. Yeah. So, yeah. But you get about halfway through before she calls you. So you've got half of a pallet full of boxes left.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then after the call, I guess I'll saddle up in the 97 Impala. And, is it 97?
It was a 69.
Yeah.
69 Impala.
67.
I got
No,
97.
97,
That's not a cool
that's
car.
not a cool
Yeah, I was like,
That's what Grandma drives.
I just showed my gray Vegas glasses.
Every
Wow,
Impala
multi-aged.
after 85 was.
What year is it?
Was that last Wednesday when I got that that scammer call and tried to pretend to be the little lady and he didn't buy it? Yeah, that was pretty
Yeah,
funny.
that car went from panty dropper to granny shopper real quick.
I like that. So that was probably, like I said, probably like a 67 Impala or something like that. I guess we could. I don't know.
I was gonna say 67. So
Oh,
that's
I
right.
just looked up 99 Impala.
Sad?
It's definitely not
I felt like
cool.
there was a
Yeah.
7 in it, and it's probably 67 or 76.
Yeah,
I'd
it's
go
67.
67.
Yeah.
I just looked that one up too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, you've got the car from Supernatural and you've got the pistol, so
Yeah,
there we go.
There you
We're
go.
good to go. All right, so you saddle up and head over to Bunks because you know where it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Calling Della.
I'll have to go get it. I don't care. Okay. I go back into my office. Oh, okay.
Your phone's making
Miss-
weird noises. I mean,
You just need a really
It
long
went too
stick.
long. So I
I'll
just
just
like
shake
hang
it.
up.
I'll just shake it.
I'm like,
no, I'm gonna open it, sit on the desk, and then back away.
as soon as she like, and then I'm gonna call Darwin.
you open it up and immediately disconnects.
like literally the moment I was like,
Kirk. Did I do that right?
You probably think it's you.
I killed another phone. Well, there we
Put
go.
it in my pocket.
No. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're getting a phone call now.
I'm trying to think. When we went to go get beignets,
Mm.
They're not
are we still
Oh yeah.
eating or
Oh,
is this at the point of
no.
like?
Oh,
That's true.
Okay, back this up.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I guess you'll
Back
eat
this phone up.
beignets.
Back this.
So
Sorry.
Did you even take your phone with you to that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
she
okay.
did.
So I try to open it, doesn't work, but
Then he gets a call.
Hello?
Hey,
Oh no.
we are. It's good news. No, it's
Oh,
good
okay.
news.
Okay.
It's good news. We have a lead.
Dun dun dun.
We are going to the museum.
Uh,
Do you want to meet us at Bunk's house? You can go to the museum.
You've heard the World War II Museum is very cool.
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
Like,
so maybe a World War II Museum. That'd be kind of cool outing.
Uh,
Do you have someone over? Who are you talking to?
you calling out? Hold on a second.
I'm just staring at you like, what's wrong?
Sorry,
with
like,
you?
I never knew.
You can stop. Anyways, it's Miranda. She says we're going to the museum. Something I need. I don't.
Okay.
Okay, she said something about Bunk's. You know where Bunk's house is?
Why would
don't
your
think so.
friend know where Bunk's house is?
Well, you're my friend. Do you know where Bunk's house is?
I'm there right now.
All right, proven.
Who?
Why would my friend know where Bunk's house is? You know.
How? That's not. Who is hanging out with you right now?
Abdullah.
Oh, okay. I thought you had like
All right.
someone else there. You know,
As long
like
as it's not that stripper from the bar last night. Yeah.
I don't remember her.
It was a
there
good
were a
night
couple
then.
of twingers on at the jazz club. Just saying.
That's right.
All right. Anyways, do you know where Bunk's house is?
No idea.
Yeah, we
Hey,
don't know where that is.
I want to see
How
Bunk
drunk
at
were you guys?
Naval's
We
house.
all stopped by there, didn't we?
No.
No, just us.
No,
Nobody's
nobody
Pick him
knows
up.
that, so.
That's right.
Someone's having issues.
So
So his
everyone knows
address-
where Bunk's house is. What are you talking
right.
about? Come on.
In a
That's-
complete disregard
Son
for
of a-
privacy whatsoever, I disclosed his address to them.
Actually, you guys do recognize his house as being, he lives in the NOLA Art House. So you're kind of like, oh, I know where that is.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, fair enough. Okay.
Yeah, there are rocks like out back behind the. You probably can't see that from the road. Just, do you know where to come?
Yeah, I think we got it.
Okay, cool. See y'all soon.
All right, see you.
All right, bye.
Alrighty. Finish your beignets.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Head to Bunk's house.
They're coming.
Yep.
All right. Takes you guys a few minutes to head over there. You probably ride your scooter.
Yes.
I have my bike.
You have your bike. You're not able to keep up. He gets there before you.
That's fine.
If you remember where it was a little ways outside the French Quarter. Yeah, you get there in about probably 5 minutes before Della does. She's using spirit magic to keep up or something. I don't know.
So I just use my umbrella to hook on the end of cars.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Hook on the end of a scooter. There are lots of other scooters parked outside our house. You're thinking this might be a cool place. So there you go, because these people ride scooters. There's also lots of bikes too. So you pull up, chain your bike and your scooter, go up to the steps to the front porch and knock on the door.
Yeah, 100% I'm waiting on you. I'm not going in there alone.
Okay.
Artists are scary. What do you mean? Yes.
Yeah.
Knock on the door. Door opens, and this nice, you think she's probably Hispanic woman, who comes to the door. She opens it and says, "Hi, can I help you?" She's got a curly-headed little boy on her hip. He looks like he's maybe 2.
We're looking for Bunk.
Oh, Bunk. Yeah, he's out back. And so she leads you through the house. There's lots of, paintings on the wall, some sculptures and stuff like that. All of them look like they're done by local artists. They're not anything like, like you would see in a museum, no stuff like that. She takes you... Yet, that's right. Not yet. They'll be there eventually once they're discovered. There's lots of doors on the hallways where you can see that, probably people have these little rooms that they live in. She takes you down the back stairs right before you get to the kitchen, which is this huge kitchen with a big table where everybody can eat, and out back to this big oak tree where there's this tree house would be about the only way you could put it, that's been built in this big oak tree. You notice that there's a bunch of benches underneath the tree also, and looks kind of like an impromptu pavilion where it looks like people hang out at. There's also a little gazebo. And out back, sure enough, are Bunk and Miranda. Bunk is throwing rocks at her. She's swatting them out of the air, which is kind of interesting to see. So yeah, you probably arrived just about the same time, maybe a little before they did. And yeah, he's using his force, kinetic stuff, Yeah, and she's slapping them up. You're not cutting any stones, but the interesting thing about it also, you're not scratching your sword either. You're just kind of swatting them out of the air.
Man, it can take a lot of abuse.
So you guys kind of all arrive at the same time at the art house. It's probably about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Remember, it's November, so it's cool out. You're not hot. You're flinging rocks at her. She's swatting them out of the air. Hadn't cut any rocks though.
Not that's any of my business, but why?
Oh,
You got a new trick.
I think somebody's feeling jealous.
This is a cool sword, and it does cool things, and I'm just trying to see what the limit on that is.
Because
I'll
not
just
breaking
put
it
it
should
away.
break. Do you think it should break?
I see you putting some force into that stuff.
It's
Yeah.
not even
breaking
scratched, and then pull it out, put it right under his eye, no
Right under
scratches on it. I start while I'm there. I'm like, you got a little. I could shave probably. Okay. I'm just
Her sword is really, really sharp. Now, you also know probably it wouldn't hurt you either. To injure an innocent with the sword of the cross would be to defile them, and so she's not going to hurt you. You know that. You know better than that. Besides, Miranda wouldn't hurt you not on purpose.
On
anyway.
purpose.
I was going to say, everything you're saying sounds fantastic, however.
She might cut you shaving, but it would not be on purpose. That's right. All right. So yeah. The Scooby Gang has all gathered at the Nola house, and what are you pitching? What idea you're pitching at
I
them?
pull out my psycho map, and I have my full-on Charlie Day moment, and I'm like, guys, I did some, and this looks like nothing, by the way. It's just lines and X's, and there's no rhythm to it. And I go, so this is clearly where we need to go. And I point to the Museum of Death. And I'm
Is
like,
that also fully blackened so you can't tell?
see, I've just scrolled over so many
So
times.
many lines and X's. You're just like, this is where I need it.
And there's a drawing of like an eye in the corner, and then there's doodles of flowers over here. Yes.
This, no.
The Illuminati triangle for no reason.
Well, you've actually drawn the street, so it's made a triangle. And you're like, look, it's a tap. Yeah.
Did you just trace the roads on something? Like,
Yes.
Added
so
some.
I've done some very thorough research, and I've concluded that it could only be coming from here.
Only?
Well, maybe not
It's
only,
our
but
best lead right now.
it's our
besides-
best guess at this moment, and it's a good
Sounded
guess.
better as lead.
I have,
lead.
it's a good lead. It's a good lead, guys, because it's new-ish. It's spooky.
It might have some
Okay, fair
things that
enough,
roll
fair
in and
enough.
out.
It's in
It
the
might
right
pick something out.
direction, and I have a hunch.
Well,
Wow.
that seals it. Let's do it.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna turn towards
Chiropractor might be able to fix that.
Della and say, "Hey, Bunk and I were out
I
last
sleep on
night. Some
mattresses
guy
on the floor,
named
Darwin.
Belmont was looking for you. Gabriel Belmont.
Sorry.
Ring a bell."
Actually, he was looking for Miranda.
Gabriel.
Is it Miranda?
He was looking for Miranda. Yeah.
I turned to Miranda and said, "Hey, Bunk and I were out last night."
I hear
Some
this, and I'm
guy
like, he
thing.
was looking for you too.
No, he did not look for Dell.
But yeah, you want to get in contact with you.
He bought me a cup of coffee today and knew where I was gonna be somehow and knew
Weird.
how I take
Lord
my
works in
coffee.
mysterious ways.
Yeah, interesting guy. Interesting guy.
Mm-hmm.
No, he actually sort of helped me he contributed a little bit to maybe me figuring out where
That
we need to go.
masterpiece.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I showed him, and he pretty much confirmed what I already thought. But
Oh, okay.
yeah, he said that I had good instincts and something like that. He didn't say that exactly, but
Probably high praise from a guy
he,
like him.
yeah, I was impressed considering he just showed up where I was, and I didn't tell him where I was going to be or anything like that.
Yeah, that's a
So
little
I
weird.
think this is a sign. We should go this way. I mean, if nothing else, we can just scratch it off the list and then move on to another option at some point. And I mean, if we ain't got anything else to do, a museum would just be fun.
At this point, you're realizing she's not talking about the World War II museum, by the way.
Yeah, I can't figure that one out.
Yeah, the mention
Like,
of
wait,
the
what?
Kevorkian machine or whatever didn't
yeah.
give it away.
Yeah, you're like,
No, a little disappointed, I'm not gonna lie, but yeah.
What's the matter?
Now we're going to a different museum.
We can go to another museum. We could make it a thing if you really want to go do museums.
I mean, fair enough. They got quite a few decent museums around
If this
here.
doesn't shake out, I mean, preferably we should figure out what's going on with the ghosts before. Oh yeah, he mentioned something about a ghost apocalypse that we probably should stop.
That would be nice
I
to know,
forgot
actually.
to mention
Yes.
that. Well, he didn't use that word exactly. That was my word,
Okay.
but it didn't sound good, and it sounded like things were boiling up and maybe coming to a head. And that
Kind of like
bad
from the Ghostbusters movie, giant,
The
snow
dude, man,
fake
I
off
don't-
Marshmallow
yeah.
Man.
perhaps it could be, maybe, or desperate, tortured souls of slave owners pouring into the streets to wreak havoc on all of humanity and
I like his
something
idea
like
better.
that. Yeah, or it could be
Yeah.
a marshmallow
Slimer
guy.
sounds
I don't
better.
know.
Yeah,
Slimer
that's,
sounds better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of those things could happen. So I'm just saying, So what do we?
No, let's roll.
Trolley. Yeah. I guess could we take the trolley? Because that's probably going to be the only mode of transportation at Carry All.
You're gonna have to.
Five of us.
If you want to take the trolley, you can. Well, his car can handle it.
Oh, okay.
His Impala is big enough to seat all five of you for sure.
Okay.
Probably almost all of you in the back seat.
We'll
How big is
For the
that
trunk.
trunk? Can I
Yeah.
fit
Yeah,
that back?
definitely the trunk. Yeah.
Do you want to take your bike?
Yeah.
Sure.
You can throw it in the trunk. That's for sure. I'm sure his trunk's big enough for that.
Too bad you can't put your scooter in there.
Wow.
It should be safe with all the other
All
scooters.
right.
I begin moving things around. And I just pick up the whole scooter and
I was like, Darwin whips out
We're
his
gonna put it in the
tools,
front
he
seat.
disassembles,
Yeah.
put it in the scooter, puts
You
it
need
in-
to make that scooter like your Iron Man suit, collapsible and ready to pull out of it.
yes.
You could probably do that with your powers.
So you guys hop in the Impala. start heading towards the Museum of Death. You're not going to be able to park very close to it. You're going to have to find, a parking lot and park and then kind of walk, but it's only a couple blocks. You find a place to park, take your money and, set it up so that you can, pay the parking meter for a couple hours and walk down the street. It's actually, ironically, the same road that Jean Lafitte is on and also that St. Louis Cemetery is on. St. Louis Cemetery is not next door to it, but it's a little north and kind of east of it. It's what looks like maybe an old office building. Big glassed-in windows. Looks like it's about maybe 3 or 4 stories tall. It's not what you would think of as a museum. It's a little run down. There's a big glass door and in big bold letters. Looks like they maybe were done with some of this vinyl stuff. It says Museum of Death with these kind of drippy things coming underneath it. It's kind of kitschy. You walk up to the front door, push the door open, and there's kind of this little entry foyer. There's a counter in front of you with a young man standing behind it. Maybe he's in his 30s or 40s, standing behind it with a cash register. Underneath the counter, there's some things that you can buy. There's like T-shirts, there's shot glasses, New Orleans Museum of Death, and they have skulls on them and stuff like that. The T-shirts are pretty much all kinds of different colors, primarily black and white. There's some dark blues and even a bright green. And he's standing there, and then behind him, there's like what literally looks like the curtains like you would have in a hospital that they would draw around people's things like that, so you get this very much a hospital kind of vibe. Maybe that's what they're going for. And then there's a little opening that's maybe about 2-3 feet wide that would lead back into the museum. And so he looks at you and he says, "Hi, you here for a tour?"
Yeah, sure.
Great. Tickets are $15 a person.
We are here for an inspection. I'm kidding. Here you go.
Okay.
It says $15 a piece, but it is a 45-minute tour, and I will personally take you around myself to show you all the different exhibits. So it's a guided tour.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not just a walking tour. And he says the walking tour, you can do that on your own.
Nobody
if you
else
like.
balked at that but us.
Yeah.
We were like,
Yeah. Well, no. He goes, if you want to do just the walking tour, it's $7 a person. But, of course, I know a lot of things about the exhibits that I would love to share with you, being one of the proprietors.
I pull out my $15.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
He says, "Oh, well, great." He takes the money, rings it up in the cash register, hands you each a receipt that says Museum of Death, in little, kind of cash register stuff, and it says $15 and stuff like that. He puts it in the cash register, closes it up, reaches over and locks the cash register. He says, "Well, then follow me." And so he walks over. He says, "By the way, my name is JD." He shakes all of your hands. He says, "I'm one of the owners of the Museum of Death." He says, "Now I'll take you around to the different exhibits." So he takes you inside through this, little parting in the curtains, and immediately you notice that this area has been set up with like partitions, like you would use for a cubicle farm in a office. But these cubicle partitions, instead of being like 5-6 feet tall, are about 8 to 10 feet tall. So and you come to this main entranceway, and he says, "All right, well, let's get started here." And he says, "This is the crime blotter room." And so this room, you can see it extends kind of to your left, and on the wall are all these pictures, and they look like pictures from like murder scenes or stuff like that. And he starts giving you this spiel. These are actual morgue photos of the Black Dahlia. The woman who was found with her lower part of her body cut in half and some things like that. And he starts telling you about all these different crimes. And all of these are famous crime scenes. He says, "And I want you to understand that these are not copies of photos. These are actual photos taken from the actual scene where this happened, and we have the original copies." And you're kind of like, "How do you get original crime scene photos? Isn't that illegal?" Because you're thinking this is maybe a little sketchy, but he starts telling you about them, and when you kind of go over and look at them, they're all framed behind glass. You look at them, and you're thinking he probably is legit in what he's telling you, and that these are actual crime scene photos. They're a little yellowed around the edges. The one from the Black Dahlia is, looks like it was done with that silver nitrate or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's definitely aged poorly. But he shows it to you, and he says, we have special glass here to protect the photos so that you can see through. But
how'd you come into possession of these?
Lots of auctions. Online, you can find this kind of stuff if you know where to look. He says eBay is a great source for this kind of memorabilia. And sometimes we find collectors that we can trade some of our things to them, and they have things that we want. And so we trade to different collectors, sell to different collectors. Some of these we don't own. They're on loan from private collections of people who have them. But most of them are owned by myself and Catherine, the other owner.
Yeah,
So,
he's not wrong. That's where I got my sword. eBay.
Yeah, eBay, right. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
I completely believe that.
Yeah, right. So he tells you about all these different crime scene photos. There's like in one corner there's a picture of someone who basically committed suicide, and their head's really blown apart. It's kind of gruesome. And there's a couple little glass cases in front. Some of them are like some of the actual items that were found at the crime scene, like pellets from a shotgun, where the guy that maybe been taken out of the corpse, and it's kind of disturbing, definitely disconcerting.
I was about to make a comment about how it was like I was back in high school again, and then I remember the game is set in 2010 when all of that shop website stuff was like a really big deal.
And this is definitely just prime time for this kind of stuff. So you round the corner, and he brings you to the next room, and he says, okay, this is the serial killer room. And he starts showing you all this memorabilia from serial killers. John Wayne Gacy's authentic clown shoes. And some different things from different serial killers like that. Some pictures and some things from Marilyn Manson, listen to me, Charlie Manson, some things like that. And he starts telling you all these stories about where they got them and how they got them. And again, it is terribly creepy. Because one of Kevorkian's machines that he used to kill people, and you're just kind of like, this is really weird. And you do think it's interesting that they put Kevorkian in with the serial killers. Probably appropriate. And so he, again, he's telling you about all these things. He seems to be very, very knowledgeable. While you are creeped out by what you're looking at, JD seems to be a genuinely nice kind of guy, even if he is kind of fascinated with death. He's probably in his late 30s, maybe early 40s. Relatively handsome, dark-headed, kind of slightly curly hair. After about another 15 minutes of telling you about the serial killers, you round the corner, and he says, and this is the room of death. And he starts with, kind of different ways people can die. They have a guillotine and some things like that. He talks about implements of torture, and has an Iron Maiden. And he goes on to tell you that, Iron Maidens weren't actually used. It was just, something that they came up with. And he actually seems like he knows what he's talking about pretty well. He shows you an actual suicide suit, and there's half a dozen shrunken heads hanging from the wall. He says they're authentic. Think they might be. They do look pretty gross and disgusting. He says actually, and one of their prized possessions, and there's this pair of Nike shoes sitting over there. He says, yeah, this is a pair of Nike shoes that were actually taken from the Heaven's Gate.
Yes!
Yeah, guys.
I am a fan of cult stuff, so this I know about.
Yeah, and he says it's kind of, they actually came from that, so it's
was that Miranda, or is that...
That I figured it would work for Miranda.
Yeah.
But this is actually me.
Yeah.
I got excited.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, Heaven's Gate.
And so it's really kind of, again, to think that these were the Nike shoes that someone died in is a little creepy if they're legit. I mean, how are you going to check?
I mean, the street value of this shoe alone, whether it was one of the regular pair or not, has skyrocketed just from the association. It's crazy. Anyway, I'm like taking over his tour at this point.
And he just listens, and he actually nods and smiles, and he makes a few comments when you're talking about. Again, this guy seems genuinely kind of a pleasant fellow. Again, even if he is a little fascinated with death. He finishes his spiel in this room, and he takes you out through one of the other doors, and there's a room that has more T-shirts and more paraphernalia and stuff like that in it. He says, "This is our shop. You are welcome to look. I'm going to head back to the front to see if there's any other people who need a tour, and Catherine will be with you shortly." And so he turns you loose in the shop, and then heads kind of out a side door. Looks like you've made a big U shape, if you will.
Yeah.
And so this nice looking woman, dark-headed, not wearing glasses or anything like that. She's a little shorter than JD. Steps out from the back and she says, "Hi, I'm Kat." And she shakes all your hands. She says, "Is there anything I can get you in particular that you're interested in looking at?"
Well, did anybody get well, I guess I can't ask that now. Did I get a vibe off of anything while touring?
What kind of vibe do you mean?
Cursed,
It's a lore
riling
check.
up. Yeah, okay.
Anybody who would like to see if any of this stuff gives you the heebie-jeebies, you make a lore check.
Does stuff give me heebie-jeebies
One.
without using my wizard eye?
It can.
Okay.
I'm not sure you want to open your wizard's
No,
eye here.
no,
Yeah,
I
that
am not
sounds like
opening
a
my wizard's eye.
terrible
That's
idea.
not even. No,
Yeah.
it doesn't come across.
Sounds like a terrible idea. Ooh, that's a good roll.
A 4.
3.
3. Okay, what'd you get?
Got
I mean-
one.
Yeah, I saw you rolled really well.
Yeah.
One.
Okay. All of the stuff made you creeped out, okay? But none of it in particular made you feel like it was maybe evil or cursed. Now, how would you detect that? It would just kind of give you a chilly sensation. You guys have felt ghosts recently, so you didn't feel any ghostliness around here, no cold spots or anything like that. But again, all of this stuff was kind of creepy enough to make you go, ew. So yeah, except for Miranda, who's excited.
What's
So,
this, yeah. What's this lady's name again?
Catherine, but she goes by Kat. Yeah.
Kat. Hey, Kat. So this was great. Loved the shoes. Have you guys gotten anything in recently that maybe you haven't put out yet for the public? Any sneak peek of some upcoming exhibit that we could maybe get a preview of?
No, but understand that a lot of the stuff we don't put it out there because we're restoring it and cleaning it up. Sometimes it's sat in basements or boxes for years, and so we have to make sure it looks nice and presentable. So nothing right now. Why? What are you anticipating? Things particularly you're looking for?
Just be real with her. Maybe. I'm just gonna be real with you. Okay.
I'm currently looking at T-shirts. I don't
We
know.
are. He's looking for T-shirts, and I just geeked out over shoes, and I'm sitting.
Yeah, right.
I pull out my map, and I go, "So, your museum
I walk away.
is."
I am watching those.
Yeah. Popcorn appears.
Yeah.
So, we're not crazy. We've been hunting not a ghost, something bothering ghosts that is emanating from this area recently. And your shop, point to where I've scribbled it out on the map, is this museum is sort of the nexus of some very negative, bad thing that we've been feeling.
Well, being someone who's fascinated with death myself, JD and I own this place. I can tell you that there have been some really strange things occurring at the St. Louis Cemetery. A lot of weird comings and goings at night. So, yeah.
Can you define a little more specific than just weird?
Well, people going in at night or at all hours. I can't get in because they lock the gates. But there've been, I've seen people pull up in cars or coming up to the gate and someone letting them in and then locking it behind them. So something I think is going on at the cemetery, and that seems to be primarily. I want to say the last time there was a really flurry of activity was the new moon. So I don't know.
What are we doing on the new moon? Were we hunting the Devil Man?
Yeah, well, you guys were hunting. It wasn't the full moon when you were. No, it was the full moon. The Devil Man was at the
So
full
the
moon.
Devil Man was
Right.
recently. Do you know? Could you tell me anything about the description of the vehicles and around what time this activity
Well,
has been happening?
I didn't hang around because I was a little concerned that if they saw me and they were up to no good, that's a pretty dangerous part of the city anyway at
Right.
night. So no, I didn't really get a look on them. I can tell you it was late, probably
After 10,
midnight, maybe 11. I'm not real sure. It was
Okay.
late though.
I'm actually affiliated with the cathedral, so I mean this would be very useful information to know with them.
Well, she looks at you and she says, I really think you ought to talk to the security guard because
Okay.
I think he's the one who's letting them in. Those fences are pretty tall, and it would be. I mean, of course, people can climb fences, but these people weren't going in through the fences; they were going in through the gate. Someone was letting them in. So yeah, I would be careful.
Okay.
If it's an inside job, then there may be a lot of people involved.
Well, thank you for
Yeah,
that
sure.
information.
Well, we have to respect death, and so if somebody's defiling the cemetery, that's not okay.
I agree.
You do notice she's wearing all black,
Not
which is appropriate.
surprised.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and so was JD. In fact, interestingly enough.
So do y'all have any weird, would y'all be on the ghost tour if they had a ghost tour? Or
We do have
here?
we have some advertisements with some of their flyers, of course, because when they go on the tour, sometimes people the next day or something like that want to come to us and see our museum. But yeah, we've got some advertisements with them, but that's it. No, we're not on any of the tours.
But you're not on, so you don't have any
No.
manifestations or anything around.
No. It's an old office building. Wish we had kind of a spookier location, but actually getting any location in the French Quarter is pretty expensive. So this isn't the best we could do, but it serves our purpose. It's a big open area. We were able to set it up, and we've only been here about maybe a year. We were originally located in Los Angeles, and so we moved here. It just seemed like it would be a better place. New Orleans is one of the most haunted cities in the United States, so Museum of Death seemed like it would fit right in. Yeah.
Yeah, it
enough.
certainly does.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this was very fun
Sure.
tour. Nice establishment. Love
the
what
people.
you're doing
The
with
shoes.
the place. Yeah, the shoes are great. And thank you for the information.
Yeah. Sure. Glad I could help you.
Okay,
Let's go.
should we?
All right. She seems a little disappointed you didn't buy a T-shirt. So you gonna buy a
Okay,
T-shirt?
I was waiting for my moment.
All right. T-shirts are $10. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, like a.
T-shirts, expensive admission.
Yeah, they're actually.
Yeah, I was like, it was
This
no
was black.
joke.
It has it in red.
$15
Museum of
for
Death. The white skull. The skull's kind of this Dia de los Muertos skull with kind of the tears
The
and
sugar
flowers
skull
and
kind
stuff
of
like that.
thing.
Yeah, it's just kind of cool looking. Yeah. All right.
Nice. I imagine he was like putting it on now.
That's right.
He's definitely walking
Full
out
on
with it
tourist
yeah.
mode.
That's right. All right. So where are we going now?
So that's interesting about the cemetery because I spoke to Beaumont
Gabriel
this
Beaumont.
morning and he seemed to feel like that was pretty short up. So I don't know. That's weird.
It's just good. We're just right there. Let's go do a walkthrough.
Yeah,
Okay.
might as well.
We'll
Yeah,
have
it's
to
probably a couple
do-
of blocks.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably about 5
We'll have
blocks. It's not
to.
far.
We'll have to go on a tour though.
Not necessarily.
No, we're just busting there for an inspection.
That's right.
That's right.
Well, no. During the day, you can go in. You're supposed to have a tour guide there primarily for your own safety. She works with the church. They're probably
that's
not
right, I
going to
forgot.
question her too much. She'll just, flash her sword of the cross, and they'll go, "Ooh, yep, you're okay."
We
you're
just
good."
flash our badges,
That's right,
Della's,
badges.
These
detective,
home.
constable, communicators. I don't know.
Yeah.
Della's Canny Constables.
Oh, candy
Like
constables! Look at us.
Candy constables. Yeah.
Wow.
We have actual
Stop
badges.
it! Are you
That's
kidding me?
awesome.
And then I thought, the others might want one too.
Oh.
I like it.
I love that. So great. Oh my God.
And they're wearable.
Yeah. See that? Oh,
Yo, we found out.
Chuck's got his on. So does Tyler.
We found out.
They immediately put them on and they're wearable.
It's a magnet.
It's a little
Oh, it's a
magnet. You just
magnet.
pull
Pull the
it.
magnet off, and it'll It'll.
Is your
You might
super on
just
there?
need to push it here.
Maybe you need a sword
I'm just
to hit
scared. I
with
think
it,
I'm.
or-
Yeah.
She didn't want to break
Oh,
it. That's
sorry,
what it
that's-
is. Yeah, she didn't want to break it.
Oh, okay.
And then pull it off.
Oh my god. This is my favorite thing that has ever existed.
Today on the Dresden Download, we're going to talk about the Knights of the Cross. Now, the Knights of the Cross are sometimes known as the Knights of the Sword, and each one wields a sword of the cross. The swords of the cross have one of the nails from Christ's crucifixion embedded in the blade. Typically, they're thought to be 3 swords of the cross, though in my game, we have a 4th sword of the cross, wielded by Miranda, who is also a 4th Knight of the Cross. We'll see how that happened later on. Anyway, their main purpose is to defeat the Blackened Denarians. The Blackened Denarians are people who have taken up one of the 30 pieces of silver that was paid to Judas when he betrayed Christ. And each of these coins contains a demon. Once you touch one of these silver coins, you are possessed by the demon. Though it is possible to deny that demon, drop the coin, and be redeemed. And that is the main purpose that the Knights of the Cross serve, to try and redeem those who carry the Blackened Denarian coins. Anyway, they wield lots of powers. Several of the powers have to do with the fact that they are always there at just the right time, because the Lord works in mysterious ways, and they serve God. Interestingly enough, Sonya, one of the Knights of the Cross, is an agnostic, which I guess means he serves God, but he's not even really sure if there's a God to serve. Kind of an interesting paradox. Anyway, that's the Knights of the Cross. I hope you enjoyed.